In my house, I have a 50-centimeter sea of water.
But the water came in through the street door and flooded my house.
We have not experienced a worse flood than this. It is terrible.
It's the worst type of damage I've ever seen here.
On September 24, 2022, Hurricane Fiona, which swept through the Caribbean a few days earlier, reached the east coast of Canada. Flooding, falling trees, and downed power lines affected the country's 4 Atlantic provinces as well as Quebec. Several people became victims of the forces of nature. In a number of areas of Nova Scotia and Newfoundland, a state of emergency was declared, and an emergency evacuation of the population was carried out. The city, Canal-Port-aux-Basques, took the cyclone severity, where waves of up to 15 meters high turned into a pile of rubble and swept into the ocean at least 20 houses. The storm left behind large-scale destruction. According to meteorologists, Fiona was among the most severe storms in the history of Canada.
It's the worst type of damage I've ever seen here. Never seen so many trees uprooted and damaged. We stayed downstairs because the whole house was shaking, and watching out the window and listening to the sounds and hearing the bang here and bang there and wondering what it was.
On September 25, 2022, Super Typhoon Noru, also known as Carding, hit the northern Philippines. Before making landfall, it incredibly and quickly, in just 6 hours, gained strength and at the peak of its speed hit Luzon, the densely populated island of the country. This is one of the fastest acceleration ever recorded in the Pacific Basin. Such an increase immediately before the landfall was a reason that the locals had practically no time to prepare for the impact of the natural force. The population of the coast and areas prone to landslides turned out to be the most vulnerable. About 80,000 people were in emergency shelters. In less than 36 hours, Noru crossed the South China Sea and continued its devastating journey through central Vietnam. Here, the super typhoon left behind a complete chaos of fallen trees, torn roofs, damaged buildings and cars, and flooded streets and houses. The storm was one of the strongest ever recorded in the country. Learn about the way out of the climate crisis on November 12, 2022, at the International Online Forum, Global Crisis, Our Survival is in Unity. Large-scale flooding caused by record rainfall does not stop on the planet. Spain, on September 23, 2022, flash floods occurred in several regions at once. More than a month worth of rain fell in some places in a matter of hours. Many houses were flooded. The currents of water were so strong that they carried away cars easily.
In my house, I have a 50-centimeter sea of water. All the sockets, the fridge, and the freezer are full of water. The water came in through the door, then it penetrated into the courtyard, tore off the garage door, and moved the car.
But the water came in through the street door and flooded my house. The mud is everywhere. The roof is about to collapse.
We wanted it to rain, but not like this.
the citizens of the African continent also suffer from floods. In Nigeria, heavy rains hit the state of Jigawa, as a result of which dozens of people lost their lives. About 200 homes were destroyed. The 2022 flood is the worst in a decade. This year, more than 300 people did not survive the onslaught of the natural disaster, and about 500 were injured. The floods in 27 of the 36 states and the capital have affected 500,000 people and displaced about 100,000 people, according to Nigeria's National Emergency Management Agency.
We have not experienced a worse flood than this. It is terrible. The flood destroyed our houses from the southern to northern parts of our town.
Not even people who are 100 years old in Maraguada town claim to have never witnessed this kind of flood before.
The storm also destroyed thousands of hectares of farmland, heightening fears of disruption to food supplies in Africa's most populous country. In some parts of the country, the situation is also aggravated by a cholera outbreak caused by contaminated water sources. Long-term rainfall and flooding have also taken toll on neighboring Niger, where more than 160 people lost their lives since the beginning of the summer. In total, more than 220,000 people were affected by the flood. Unfortunately, conditions in modern society are such that the problems of predicting and eliminating the consequences of dangerous climatic events has been and still is the most difficult. Change is only possible in the creative society, when the value of human life comes first.